many of you ever read some F. Scott Fitzgerald? I haven't, but you know who he is. And after his death, some of his friends went through all of his papers, and they discovered stories that had never been completed, plots. And one of the plots they found was about a family that was estranged. And one of the family members had died and had left this mansion. But the caveat was that they had to all move into the mansion and prove that they could live together. Could you do that with your family? Not many people could. But that's sort of a microcosm of our macrocosm, our world experience of relationships. I started the first week in February with this series that I'm calling Holy Relationship. And so this would be part 2. One morning, a man came into the church on crutches. He stopped in front of the holy water, but stopped and put some of the water on both of his legs, and then he threw away his crutches. Well, an altar boy was nearby, and he witnessed the scene. He ran in to the rectory to tell the priest what he had seen. And the priest said, "Son, you just witnessed a miracle. Tell me, where is the man now?" And the little boy said, "He's over there by the holy water, Father, flat on his back." Sorry, I guess that one went over like a lead balloon. Oh, so speaking of holy water, do you know how they make holy water? They boil the hell out of it. All right, Natalie, just move on, please. Just move on. So that was supposed to be a setup to talk about our holiness. Because we're on this journey, we decided to come into these bodies. We probably made some kind of some soul agreements before we did that with the people that we're sitting with now. And when I had this thought, actually at a very young age, I remember thinking, Natalie, life is all about relationships. When did you have that epiphany in your life? And maybe you're having it right now, or maybe you're not convinced, and I'm going to be trying to convince you this morning that life is all about relationships. So just for a moment, you think, but if I'm not in a relationship, then how can life be about relationships? Oh, you are in a relationship. You are in a relationship with yourself, with your body, with the sleep you get or you do not get, with the vehicle that will start or not start, with the telephone that will activate or not activate, with the person that you have to connect with on the phone to the phone that doesn't connect or activate. I mean, it's all relationship.
This is all about me.
It appears that way. But I actually planned it before all this happened this morning. So think about it. How's your relationship with your sleep? Because if you don't like it, then there you have an unhealthy relationship. And after all, sleep is what it is, isn't it? There's not a whole lot you can do about it. How is your relationship with the weather. That's been a big one this year because we've had lots and lots of wind. And I'll never forget your mom, Nancy, saying to me one time, she just loved her neighbor because the first time she saw her neighbor and met her neighbor said, "Don't you just love this wind?" Do you know anybody who says that? Said nobody ever, right? Except Nancy's mother's neighbor. Don't you just love this wind? So what kind of a relationship, how do you relate? Or in A Course of Love, what we are learning, that group of us who are studying it, is that it is all an invitation to join with it. Whatever it is, whatever the experience is, it's an invitation to join because we're not separate. We're absolutely not separate from it. In fact, there's this beautiful, posted this the other day, and that really got a lot of attention because this would be sort of the Buddhist view of it, that we are connected to everything. But what happens when we get attached to it? Attached to the phone working, attached to the perfect weather. You know, our grandchildren came last week, and by the way, we missed you last week. It's good to be back. And there was a team here making things work, and Don was at the head of that. But a lot of people were involved in making it happen when we're not here. So thank you for that. But we're back. Our grandchildren were here. It was great. And someone said, "Oh, I hope you had a great time." And I said, "Well, they are teenagers." So we had as good a time as we could have with our teenage grandchildren. But one of the things we were hoping was, well, maybe the wind will die down a little bit. We wanted to spend some outdoor time, and that really didn't happen. And we went outdoors anyway. Don't you just love this wind? So now that I've kind of opened the door, can you think of some other things that you have a relationship with? And think about it. It is all based on your past experience with it. It's not based on the present moment. It's based on your past experience. Here's an example. Back in the fall, I visited a dear friend of mine who lives in Prescott, and she lives in one of those co-op communities. Very cool. And so when we walked, she wanted me to see this outdoor meditation area that she kind of created for herself. And it was actually behind somebody else's house, but that's how that whole co-op thing works. It's the space kind of belongs to everybody. So she says, "Look, let's come over here and we'll go in and I'll tell you, it looked like a cool little place to meditate, but what I saw was poison." Okay, I grew up in Michigan, and every summer I got poison ivy. And so I'm seeing this wonderful little spot here with all this great greenery and ivy, and all I'm thinking is, I don't want to get poison ivy. I'm not going in there. So my experience, what I brought into that moment was fear. And what she was bringing into that moment was this wanting to join with me in this space and in a practice that was very, very dear to her. And I was not there. So much of our experiences are based on what the past experience was. So here's another example. We have our oldest granddaughter. It just turned 17 this past week. So she has some very specific needs in terms of how she will feel comfortable in terms of space with people and touch. And also the clothes that she wears. It has nothing to do with fashion. It has everything to do with the way that they feel on her body. So her mom said, well, we're here, and right across the river is the outlets. Let's go see if we can find something for you. And they had a great experience. Have you ever walked into a clothing store and right away you got asked, can I help you? And what was your response? No. Are you and I the only ones? I'm like, no, thank you. Thank you. I'm just looking. I'll take care of myself. But I remember a time when I walked into a store and I knew what I wanted. And I told the lady when she came and asked me, can I help you? I said, yes, this is what I'm looking for. And I ended up having the greatest shopping experience because she joined with me. We both had the same mind in terms of what it was that I needed. And all I had to do was take off and put on clothes. And this one doesn't fit. And so she went to get the other size and she'd bring it to me. Have you ever had one of those experiences? That's very cool. That's really kind of the way that it's supposed to be. But you gotta kind of know what it is that you want. I had the occasion this last week to help my parents. And I'll tell you, these are two folks who have, have done nothing but help other people their entire lives. All right, they're in their mid-80s, married for 65 plus years now, and this is how I remember them doing for others always. And so maybe you're one of these people too, that you're really good at helping other people, but not so good at receiving help. And so I found my mom saying, oh, you're doing too much for us. You're doing too much. And you know what? For me, it just felt like the most natural thing. I felt like I was in a space of love to be able to help them. I just felt like I was in this bliss state to be able to help them. And so when they say, oh, you're helping me too much, I'm like, in my mind, I finally said too, I said, think back to all the times that you helped me. If you need to feel like there's some kind of a balance, please remember. You guys, I have really special parents. When I was in my 20s and I went into treatment, I left abruptly. And they actually moved my apartment when I wasn't there. I mean, how many people would you help move, let alone move for them? So anyway, I guess I'm maybe overdoing it a little bit, but in A Course in Miracles, it doesn't feel like it to me. In A Course in Miracles, it talks about special relationships and holy relationships. And we all have special relationships, and you might even think, well, that's what we're all trying to do, have special relationships, right? But here's what a special relationship really is. A special relationship is when you make me happy. But when I give someone the power to make me happy, that means I have also given them the power to make me unhappy. And that's ultimately the very, very simplest definition of special relationships. And that's what all of our relationships are. And here we are on this journey to evolve in consciousness, to evolve to a place of holy relationship. And so are any of us going to do that perfectly? No, certainly not, because we are indeed in these physical bodies with these egos and with these personalities and with all of these challenges coming at us, and we are carrying the past with us. And it is covering over every present moment until we become conscious of that. And so that's sort of the invitation today about our relationships. And so A Course in Miracles calls it the difference between a special relationship and a holy relationship. And into the 12-step programs, they talk about codependency. So the difference between a codependent relationship and an interdependent relationship. So just the difference between a healthy and an unhealthy relationship. And I'm not talking about just with our parents or with our partners. I'm talking about the relationship with this room, with this floor that's part of the earth, this sacred, holy earth, and this sacred, holy body of mine and yours. There is a modern day, I guess he considers himself a Buddhist or a Zen enlightened teacher. His name is Muji. He was born in Jamaica, but he's an American, well, maybe he's not American. Whatever, it doesn't matter. He is a spiritual teacher, and I follow him on Facebook, and I noticed this this little piece from him the other day. You may enjoy a relationship, a place, or some favorite thing, but if you've become attached to them, it means that to some extent you have limited your freedom. Now, to enjoy without attachment is very rare indeed. Attachments often lead to expectations, projections, dependencies, and even clinging. And they are all synonymous with suffering. Who has not tasted that? When the thing you desperately desire is not available, suffering rains like hot sulfur from the skies. The wise know this and abide in their natural state. And what is our natural state? In the present moment, not bringing the baggage of the past forward. And it is indeed that experience and that effort from us, or that awareness from us, that heals the special relationship and brings us into a holy relationship, is where we heal. So I did something that I want to share with you this morning, and I think I might be running out of time, so I might need to move on to that. But how many of you remember Leo Buscaglia? You know, when I think about love, I think about Leo Buscaglia. And so I have like a 6-7 minute clip that I want to share with you this morning. So let's do that. Let's just go on and do that. Leo Buscaglia, folks. Oh, wait a minute. If you aren't familiar with Leo Buscaglia, that I should warn you, he yells. Okay? So yeah, just so I'm warning you, he yells. Good idea. The lights, and we'll start over here.
It's so wonderful. You know, I had a wonderful Papa. Many of you know that I wrote a lot of things about Papa. But Papa was an Italian immigrant. He could barely speak English. He worked hard all of his life. He gave so much. He gave love like I've never seen it. He used to give zucchini all the time. He had more zucchini. You know, my mother had to be the most creative cook in the world to cook zucchini in 10,000 ways. But Papa was so generous, and he loved learning because he himself was denied formal learning. Even though he was one of the wisest people I've ever known. He had only 5 years of education. But you know what he used to do? He says, to the greatest sin in the world, he used to tell his kids, and he had a lot of bambini. And he used to say the greatest sin in the world is to wake up in the morning as stupid as you went to bed at night. And so you learn, all of my bambini must learn something new every day. We thought that stank. And we'd ask our friends, does your father insist you learn something new every day? They said, we don't even see our father. Well, we did, because Papa always said, nobody leaves the dinner table until we've shared. And so we'd sit there, you know, Mama would cook up these storms, so much pasta you couldn't see your sister across the table. And then you'd eat and you'd drink and you'd have a good time and you'd talk, and nobody split. Everybody sat there, you know, and after it was over, he would go through this ritual of saying to each of his kids, what did you learn today? You know, and I remember when we'd get ready to go, we'd be in the bathroom washing our hands, and I'd say to my sister, what did you learn today? And she'd say, nothing. And I'd say, you better learn something. So we'd get the encyclopedia and we'd flip to something. And you know, you find something really world-shaking, like the population of Nepal is 3 million, blah, 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 you know. So you'd sit down, and after it was over, Papa would push himself away from the table, and he would look at his bambini. He'd look at us. You know, isn't it, you know, I'm convinced that we're all dying of loneliness because nobody looks at us. They look through us, they look around us, they look under us. They do things for us when all we really want to do is be seen. You know, Mommy used to take our cheeks, probably in her hands like this, and she'd say, oh, you're so cute. Mommy, you're killing me. Why are you doing this? Shut up. That was her favorite expression. Shut up, she'd say. I'm looking at you. You know, so Papa would look around at his bambini and he'd say, you know, I gotta look at you, he said, because you're all changing so fast that one day I won't even know who you are anymore if I don't look. And it's true. You know, in love class, I used to have simple exercise. Here, remember, 20, 22-year-old university kids. And I'd say to them, what is the color of your mother's eyes? And you know that 80% of them weren't sure. 22 years with this incredible woman, and they didn't know what the color of her eyes were. I said, go home, take her cheeks in your hand. What are you doing? Shut up! I'm going to look at your eyes, Mama. But anyway, Papa would say there, he'd say, okay, so what did you learn? Hey, Felice, which of course you know is my name. Hey, Felice, what did you learn today? You'd say the population of Nepal is 3,400,000. And nothing was ever insignificant for this man. He'd say, huh, Papa. He'd say, 3,460,000, but that's so wonderful. Then he'd say, Mama, did you know that? And my mama sitting down at the other end of the table said, not only didn't I know it, but I don't even know where the hell Nepal is. So we'd get an encyclopedia and we'd look it up. And the wonder is we were learning together. And I'm convinced that those people who learn together stay together. We were learning. And you know, even now, sometimes I work 97 hours a day. And I go to bed at night, and I'm just about ready to go to sleep, and I see Papa's face. And he says, hey, Felicia, what did you learn today? And I try to figure out what I learned. And if I can't learn it, usually I have to get up out of bed and get an encyclopedia and go to work. So never stop learning. And then, you know, love, frustration, and conflict, too. We're a crazy country. If you're not giddily happy, there must be something wrong. You watch television, you know, people go insane over post-toasties. They're just giddy over breakfast. And you wonder, what's the matter with me? Why am I not giddy over everything that's happening? And if you aren't happy, you immediately pop pills, you take drugs, you do all kinds of things to turn yourself on when there's so much stimulation you don't really need it. But accept frustration and conflict as a part of life, because it is a part of life, and a very important one. It's the part of life from which you will learn. You know, I had a wonderful little dog many years ago. His name was Fopa, and it was just that, too. He was a little white dog, and he was so brilliant. And you know, when I was housebreaking him, I just took him out in the garden once we had a little doggy door, and I said, now, Fopa, the world is your toilet. But not out there, you know, not in this house. And he understood. He said, you know, okay. And so from then on, it was every time Fopa had to poop, it was through the door out in the garden. And then on Saturdays, which was one of my few free days, I had to get a rake and go out and clean up the poop. And I want to tell you, I didn't like that on Saturdays. I thought of 1,000 other things I'd rather do. But Fopa loved it. And his tail would wag, you know, he was so excited. And we go out, and you remember when you were a kid, you played that game, you were getting hot? You know, as you're getting closer to the desired thing. And he would tell me, I'd go toward the tree, and his tail would start wagging. Come on, Leo, you're getting warm. You know, and so I'd get out there with the rake, and it was always there. And so we were doing it, and one day he had me way in the back of the yard. You know, and I was saying, Fopa, this time you're altogether wrong. Oh no, the tail's getting warmer and warmer. And I got back there, and just as I was about to find it, I looked over to the side, and I saw a great, big, gigantic red rose. It looked like Italian velvet. I didn't even know it was back there. And all at once it flashed in my mind, good grief, if it hadn't been for the poop, I never would have seen the rose. You know, so don't be afraid of a little poop.
Oh, wow. So that's it, folks. What is our relationship with the rose? And what is our relationship with the poop? It's all part of and parcel. So, God bless you. Thank you so much. Let's have a little meditation just to take that message a little deeper for us this morning. Thank you, God, for Leo Buscaya. He lives on, doesn't he? Just so powerfully. And so let us maybe sit a little taller, because we're aware now. We are awakening to the beauty and the brilliance of relationship to everyone and everything. And the invitation invitation to join it, to be present. To it or to them. To the dog's wagging tail. To your mother's eyes. To whatever life is bringing you in each moment. It's so easy to judge it, whatever it is, and that's what the ego mind does. And such a important part of this whole process to not get down on the ego either. It helps us in so many ways. And so it's just this very gentle walk of experiencing people and places and things. By joining them, because together we create something better. When we put the pen in our hand, together we create, and that is the relationship that we have with a pen. It's our invitation this morning to awaken, to all that is, to realize when we're judging it, and choose once again see the rose in the experience. To know the perfection of the weather and the car and the computer. And as the song says, to love myself the way I am, to love others and to love the world the way they are. And especially to love ourselves when we forget to do those things. And when those things become a challenge, we come back to the present moment and the experience of now and the appreciation for all of it. And so let us just breathe together for a moment in silence. this outer experience, just remaining in a space of appreciation. So it is.